low back pain. Whether you've just shoveled way too much snow or sat for far too long in front of the computer, when your back hurts, it can stop you in your tracks, and yet your day must go on. If you're no stranger to low back pain, this video is for you. We're gonna do a gentle 10-minute stretch session to help ease that low back tension so you can get back to your day without your body nagging at you. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Rini. Come meet me on the mat as I guide you through the process of navigating physical pain by way of the fascial system so you can begin to feel better in your body, period. In this video, all we need is 2 air-filled balls. So be sure to grab what you need and I will see you on the mat. All right. So since there can often be a fair amount of apprehension that accompanies low back pain, you can move really gingerly when your back is flared up. You can it's like you can filter your movements because you just want to move just so not to make the situation any worse, which is why in this particular video, we're taking that low back pain and addressing it nice and easy. So go ahead and just lie on your back. And after you get yourself comfortable on your back here, go ahead and just make sure that you keep those knees bent with your feet flat on the floor. And before we even get right into it here, just take a moment and you can shift those hips from side to side and really bring your attention and awareness into your low back, kind of like right where your hips and your low back come together. And if you shift those hips from side to side, do it in such a way that you allow your body to know we're not making any fast and sudden movements here. We're going to keep this nice and easy. And with those feet flat on the floor, you can begin to drop your knees a little bit farther. So instead of just that little bit of shimmy through those hips, you're taking that movement a little bit further from side to side. And only to the place where you begin to, feel yourself go, that might be a little bit too far. We're not looking to see how far you can go. We're not looking to crank our way into your end range. We're just offering the body a little bit of movement here in a way that it feels safe enough, and this is a bad pun, but like you've got your own back enough that you can begin to explore this gentle movement without fear of hurting yourself even more. So that little shift from side to side, those knees go down only as far as you go, with maybe feeling just a little bit of stretch either through that low back or through your side body. And then from here, you can cross one ankle over the other knee. And for starters, a lot of times you see this more traditional figure 4. We might get there, but for right now, with that ankle over your supporting leg, you can take your hand and just go ahead and gently nudge on that knee that is being supported. So it's like you're gently pushing. Your hand is on that upper part of your thigh, like into the inner thigh actually. And you can just go ahead and gently push down towards your feet. Maybe you feel this kind of reach from your low back into those glutes. And again, we're not cranking anything here, just a little bit of a push. Feels good. And then when you're ready, you can let that go and we'll do the same thing on the other side. So with that opposite leg, now your ankle is going to go ahead and be supported by the other leg. And again here, just a little bit of a push, taking your hand, giving yourself a little bit. It's like you're assisting your stretch here. Maybe you notice how things are completely different from one side to the other. I know I sure am feeling a big difference from one side to the other. Maybe one side feels that apprehension kick in a little more quickly from one side to the other. And then you can begin to slowly release that. And what we're going to do here, stay right where you are, but now that supporting leg is just going to drop down towards the mat. Right, kind of like we did in the beginning, but instead this is just one side at a time. Again, only going as far as feels comfortable to you. And when you're ready, you can go ahead and release that back up to neutral. And one more time, just give a little push with your hand, just nudging that knee down towards your feet. And then we'll release that and we'll do the same thing on the other side. So again, now we're back to the first side that we worked on, little zigzag pattern here. And that supporting leg is now going to drop down towards out to the side. Woof, such a difference from one side to the other. Do you notice that? And if you feel like you're really you need some extra support here, you could always shove a pillow or a folded up blanket under that supporting leg so you don't feel like you have to hold it. Kind of feel that reach all the way up to my shoulder. And honestly, I can't tell if I feel it more through my back or through the front. It feels like it just goes right up through the body. So I tell you that. So if you notice anything like that feels farther away from your low back, just to keep a mental note of that, just to even notice it. The body loves when you notice those kind of things. You can bring that leg back up to neutral here. And before we begin to move on, just give that another little push. Feels good. And then when you're ready, you can bring both of those feet down onto the mat and go ahead and lift up, squeezing through those glutes, giving yourself a little bit of a glute bridge there, squeezing those cheeks at the top. And then you can come back down onto the mat. And where we're going to go from here, we're going to take both balls and go ahead and lie on your belly. And as you begin to make your way onto the belly, one ball is going to go on either side of your hips, like inside those hip bones. So we're in that real lower abdominal region, almost towards the top of the pelvis, lower abdominals. That's where we're going. And I told you this was going to be super gentle. We're not even really getting into the low back specifically, because if your low back is really kind of tweaked out, this, it's just a more gentle approach. It's almost like we're sneaking our way into the low back here without giving it we're not really giving it any direct pressure. We're just looking to soothe the area. Okay, so I have those balls, and as you make your way down onto the balls, again, you can shimmy those hips a little from side to make sure you feel like those balls are in the right spot. They're evenly placed. Your hips feel fairly balanced out and neutral. And again, if you feel where the bony structure of your hip is on the front, we're going just to the inside of that. And once you feel like those balls are in a good place for you, you can go ahead and just rest your head down. Right? You can just go ahead and rest your head down, whether you're kind of face planted or your head is off to one side. Either way. And so what you may be noticing here, what you might be looking for here as you allow yourself to settle into this compression of the balls, first things first, you might notice, I thought that they were in a good spot, but I'm going to go ahead and adjust them, right? So anytime you need to feel like you need to adjust, whether it's a little up or a little down, it's almost as if the body signals back to you that you're close to finding that hard to reach itch. It's not too hard, not too soft. Kind of want it just right. And what we're doing here actually is we're addressing like the front of the back. And a lot of times, if you've been sitting too long, or if you've been like really activating your low back, there's a good chance that your hip flexors have a little something to do with it. And so, like I said, we're making our way into the low back with this real gentle approach by accessing the front of the back. And so you may notice that this allows your back, your sacrum, that small triangular bone at the base of your spine. It's almost as if we're creating a little bit of space with the balls to allow that sacrum, that small triangular bone at the base of your spine, to like drop down into that space that the balls are creating. That might be a little mind game for you. You might have to use a little bit of like visualization or imagination to feel like your sacrum is being given more space by the balls. That's fine. Play around with that visualization or your imagination. Perfect. The body loves that. But see if you can almost utilize this compression through the front for your low back to begin to settle. And you can hang out with the balls here for as long as you need. But if you want to come up onto your elbows at all, right, even if it's just a little bit, lifting through that chest and torso just a little bit, you can see if you like that, because the balls are like a bit of an anchor here for that lower abdominal region. And you can lift up through the torso, through the chest, and you might feel a little more through the low back. Now I'm going to caution you this: if you start to feel pinchy through the low back, come right back down off of those elbows, reducing that lift and that extension, and just allow the compression to do the work. If you have a little more freedom and flexibility already, coming up onto those elbows may prove to be like, kind of the cherry on top to this. And so one more thing, because we're making this quick, this little 10-minute stretch here, but while you're here, just go ahead and check in with your quads, like the front of your thigh, your glutes, through the backside, and your low back. Just bringing your awareness down into those places, the front of the thighs, the glutes, and your low back. Just hang out here for another moment and see how much you can bring your awareness into these areas, and see if you can bring your breath back there, almost like you're encouraging any of those areas to begin to soften a little bit, begin to relax. And just know you can stay here for as long as you need to. You can stay here for as long as you need to. But when you're ready, you can just lift to one side and go ahead and pull that ball out. And then nice and gently to the other, go ahead and pull that other ball out. And now here you are without anything underneath you. And you can come up and either sit back into a little child's pose or just come into a kneeling position and see what it is that you need to kind of finish up your stretch here. Maybe you shift those hips from side to side one more time, to see if you find a little freedom in your low back. Great job. I appreciate you getting down on the mat, and you can ask yourself at any time as a reminder to come back to the mat, what have you done for your fascia lately? All right, my friends, take good care.